Hi everyone, and welcome to the 345 podcast. I'm Henry, I'm Gordon, and I'm James, and today we'll be talking about strange and stupid wars that have been fought throughout history. I'd argue they're all stupid. Yes, war is bad, everyone knows this, but that doesn't stop us from watching films about them, playing video games about them, or discussing them like today. You finished? Quite. Good. Then who wants to start? I will. First up, we have the Pastry War. In Mexico City in 1828, a mob destroyed a pastry shop owned by a French chef named Remontel. He asked the Mexican government to compensate him, and they said no. So he asked the French government for help. They also said no. But 10 years later, somehow the French king learned of this and demanded the Mexicans pay Remontel with a 90% interest rate. When they refused, the French blockaded the city of Veracruz. They only withdrew after the Mexicans agreed to pay. The Mexicans then changed their minds, and the French came back in 1861. But their empire collapsed not long afterwards, and the whole matter just fizzled out. Bust my buffers. How typical of the French to wage war over something so ridiculous. Can you please go one day without rubbishing the French? Obviously not. My turn. I present to you the Kettle War, which takes place in the Netherlands in the late 18th century. The north of the country was an independent republic, while the south was ruled by the Holy Roman Empire. In 1784, the emperor wanted to open up new trade routes using the river Scheldt, which was cut off by the north. He sent in 3 ships to intimidate the north into opening the river, one of these being the flagship Le Louis. The fleet was met by a single Dutch vessel called the Dolphin. It fired 1 shot at Le Louis. While it didn't hit anyone, the shot did strike a soup kettle. Le Louis surrendered and the flotilla withdrew. What? Why'd they give up so easily? I don't know. Maybe the Empire's ships were crewed by the French. Oh, for crying out loud. I'll take my turn now before you say something really offensive. I'd like to talk about Australia's Great Emu War. Of course, only down under would they wage war on the local wildlife. I'm not surprised. Practically everything in that country is designed to kill you. Except the emus weren't attacking people, but property. In 1932, emus were invading the farms of Western Australia and eating their crops. This was devastating to the farmers given it was the Depression, so they asked the government for help. And they sent in the army. If by army you mean 3 blokes armed with machine guns, yeah, everyone thought the problem would be resolved quickly. But the moment they started shooting at the emus, they scattered. They can run pretty fast and are surprisingly nimble. The soldiers did change up their tactics by planning ambushes and luring the emus into killing fields. They also mounted their guns on a vehicle. That last one didn't work so well because it was impossible to aim straight while thundering through the rugged terrain of the outback. Eventually, they had to admit defeat. How many emus did they kill? About 200, but considering the population numbered about 20,000, it didn't make much difference. So they tried again and managed to kill nearly 1,000 emus. Again, they had to stop because of all the bad press. Did they ever solve the problem? Oh yes, in 1934 the government introduced bounties on the emus. This led to a massive culling that was very effective. Ah yes, greed. It's probably why most wars are fought. You know, I recently heard a quote that said, the reason we fight wars is because they always benefit someone. That's very, What's wrong? Oh, sorry. I was just reminded of another quote that is truly idiotic. War never changes. What's wrong with it? It doesn't make sense. If war didn't change, we'd still be killing each other with sharpened sticks. War is often the first thing that changes, and it does so rapidly. There's this iconic photograph from the First World War of a plane flying over a squadron of cavalry. How is that not change? I think that line was referring more to a war's motives than its technology. Like Henry said, they've always benefited someone, and always at the expense of everyone else. Alright, this is getting heavy. How about we move on to the questions? Will other Tugs characters appear in stories of Sodor? Only if there are morals made of them. Next, we have a question specifically for me. How do you react to fans shipping you with Rebecca? I wasn't aware they did. I find it quite lovely. Whether it will happen in stories of Sodor depends on if we decide to introduce her. No promises. And our final question, can non-faceless vehicles actually be twins, or is it more a figure of speech? They actually can be twins. Dawn and Douglas are because they are of the same class, not to mention they have the same voice and face. If 2 or more engines share these similarities, they're considered identical siblings. If they have different faces and voices, but belong to the same class, they would be regular siblings. We hope that answered your questions. Sound off down below if you have any, and drop us a like. Also, what's the strangest war you know of? And that's all we've got for today. So until next time, stay awesome.